I grew up in a very small town in a landlocked state in the United States, so it might be at first odd on the surface that I'm a practicing marine mammologist. But I grew up in a town where the only profession was science, strangely enough. My father was a scientist, and so there was no question in my mind from my earliest memory that I would go into science. Also, strangely, although we lived a full 1,000 miles from the closest sea of any kind, my family took annual vacations to the nearest ocean, which happened to be in Mexico. So from my earliest recollection, we spent very intriguing times on the ocean as I grew up increasingly on the water in small boats. I'll never forget the first bow riding bottlenose dolphin that I saw, and I would say I was hooked. I think the most influential factor in my formative years was the support that I obtained from my parents. They were very supportive, and I was fortunate enough to have a lot of resources available to me. They taught me that I could do whatever I wanted. They made that possible, and so it was I was allowed to pursue my passions. I think that is rare for a person in any location, and it certainly made my career possible for me. I have been incredibly fortunate in that I have not had to overcome many challenges. I was born in a country with great wealth, in a situation where resources were available to me. My parents were hugely supportive. So I don't see myself as having to deal with external challenges. Again, I was most fortunate and am so grateful for that. I think the biggest challenge for me when I look back on my past has been an internal one, and it's probably an innate female challenge where we tend to, and I am including myself in that, not have enough belief in our own capabilities. My advice to younger women in the field is to have more self-confidence, because likely you are just as good as everybody else out there. The only difference between you and someone else is your level of self-confidence. And that was true for me as well. I've given this question some thought, and my answers to that question have evolved over time. Today, I think there are three really critical skills for a marine mammal scientist. The first one is passion. Passion because being a marine mammal scientist requires a lot of hard work. It requires perseverance and dedication. Those things really tend to pale if you have a lot of passion driving what you're doing. The second critical skill is curiosity, and I mean a deep-seated, true curiosity, a curiosity without any preconceived notions or without any internal stake in the outcome. As scientists, I believe our true calling is to seek the truth, and you're best placed to do that if you are innately curious. And then the third critical skill is communication. I don't think you can be an effective scientist without knowing how to effectively communicate, and that includes both oral, verbal, spoken communication, as well as written communication, not only to like-minded scientists, but increasingly important is the ability to communicate with non-scientists. I think going forward in the future, including today's the days that we are living in now, non-scientists are feeling and not understanding what it is scientists have to say, and that's becoming increasingly important. Marine mammal science is changing dramatically as a result of technological innovations. It's everywhere. Technology is changing our field in revolutionary, transformative ways, and I see that only ramping up in the future. It's a very exciting component of what we do. A big change in our field is, I believe, an increased focus on conservation. When I was a graduate student, ivory tower academic focus on marine mammal science was what we all wanted to do. Conservation science, but it was referred to as applied science back then, was considered second-class science. That's definitely not the case now. I have already witnessed over the past decade, and I believe it will be a trend in the future, that marine mammal scientists will have an increasing focus on conservation and increasing incorporation of transdisciplinary approaches and an increasing level of embracement of humans as a component of that science. And I think this is being driven by the fact that marine ecosystems are under a wide variety of anthropogenic stressors. Marine mammals, populations, stocks, and in many cases species are in critical situations. We've already witnessed the extinction of several species and are likely to witness the extinction of several others in the near future. So an increasing focus on conservation, that's a good thing, in my opinion. I also think that in the future there will be an increasing focus on the use of, awareness of, and use of what we call big data. Disparate data sets that are now being brought together through a variety of consortiums, either human-focused or made possible by our technology. That big data can reveal patterns that are not apparent based on individual projects, and that too I think is a good thing. One change that I foresee a trend in the future, and this has already started to happen during my career, is a decrease in the engagement of marine mammal scientists in the field. Real hands-on work with marine mammals themselves, a decreased focus on the value of natural history. I don't think that's a good thing. I think that's a bad thing. I'm not sure what is driving that, other than perhaps difficulty in accessing marine mammals and the field, and increasing need to develop high-level skills based on what you do when you're sitting behind a computer.